Hey guys, that time again, D2 Live. Got a jam-packed panel. We've got Johnny Trevorrow as always, Scotty McGrory, and a regular on the show, Matty White. We'll start off with you, Whitey. How do you think, or what were your thoughts on last night's stage of the Vuelta?
Yeah, it was a. You might have gathered by the amount of clothing the guys were on. It was a cold day yesterday. It was cold. They started. It was the longest day of the tour, 230 kilometres. And I don't think it got above 10 degrees all day. So it was wet. It was cold. It was a grind. And look, my boys gave it a good crack yesterday. We had Rob Stannard and Nick Schultz in the break, which got caught in the final. And then Dion Smith ran fifth in the kick. So it was not a bad day up for the guys.
Yeah. And we often lay the boots into race organisers and so forth, but Roglic was full of praise, saying it was a good move neutralising the stage with 3K to go and there was no need to take the extra risk. Credit where credit's due, Iffy.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that was a smart move, and they announced it early enough so that all the GC guys just backed off at 3Ks to go, which I reckon it should be a permanent part of the racing. But I can understand why they worry about the looks of it and that. But I tell you what, for a sprint finish, to have a corner 50 metres from the line seems a little bit, give them praise for something, but hey, what's going on there?
Well, should have got Alan Davis on to rip him a new one, even though he doesn't do course design.
Just the fact that he's linked to the youth. He's not taking out calls anymore, Albie.
And I don't think it was 50 metres. I think it was about 10 metres before the line. Last
might have been that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What is the general blueprint for stage finishes with things like that? I mean, we're laughing about it now, but how does stuff like that slip through the cracks?
We're still looking for it, that blueprint. No one can actually find it.
But generally, there's some just set rules that you sort of have to abide by, isn't there?
Generally, yes, but it all depends. You do see some trickier finishes at the Giro and the Vuelta than you do the Tour. That's for sure. Same with and it was a slight uphill finish, and they thought they'd get away with putting a finish line 10 metres after the last corner. But yeah, you don't see it at certain races, and you see some more surprises in some others.
And Jasper Phillipson, what do we know about this bloke? Obviously, Iffy, you didn't tip him, so you can't take any credit.
I was thinking about him, of course, but he's been around for a while. He's a really top sprinter. He only just got pipped in a stage earlier, and he's moving on next year. Where's he going, Whitey? I think he's moving.
He's off with Vanderpool.
Yeah. Ah, okay. Oh, gee. All right. Yeah. But he's a quality bike rider, and I was surprised that he hadn't won a Grand Tour stage, actually.
Yeah, he's a young one. I think he's only 23, 24. I think he's his second or third year pro. But the problem he's got there at UAE, it's sort of they've got Christoph, they've got Gaviria. He's sort of the odd man out. He's not a pure sprinter. He's strong and he's got a good future. But he'll get a lot of opportunities next year with Vanderbilt's team.
Yeah, he's 22, guys, and. With Sam Bewley talking about the Hagen-Sperman's team that, is in doubt because of sponsorship. He's another one of these young guys that came through that. So that's Axel Murphy's team. He's developed so many of these guys that have come through, and here's another one. So Belgian rider, obviously the connection with Belgium through Axel, picked him up very early, took him across to America, did some races as well, and then at the age of 22 with the stage win. So I think a big future.
Yeah. Now, Whitey, I've got a question for you, Whitey. Has Doug Ryder pulled a rabbit out of the hat? I mean, what's going on? There's a little bit of not harmony between the management because only a few days ago, we got Bjarne Riis saying she's all over. And now we've got Doug Ryder coming out and saying he could have a sponsor and announcing in a couple of days.
Yeah, I saw that. Look, I'm obviously not at the Vuelta, but I've read the same reports that you did, and Doug wouldn't be saying that unless he's very close to signing something. So obviously Bjarne has got nothing, and Doug might be able to make an 11th hour deal and save the team, which would be great for I know there's a lot of guys without contract at the moment, and if he could salvage that team, it would be great for the sport.
I always
How
thought it
many-
was a very strange relationship, Doug Ryder and Bjarne Rees. I never thought that would actually work. But anyway.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
they've
quite
had
polar
challenges.
opposites. Polar opposites personality-wise.
Yeah, they have had like that particular setup with Doug, and I think Doug's done an incredible job, and then the whole premise behind the bikes for Africa, trying to develop
Quebecer Foundation.
Quebecer Foundation. I think that's fantastic, and but they certainly have had management challenges in the past and lots of conflict, and I guess butting of heads within the management over its entire length of that team, haven't they?
Yep.
He was a hard man.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
He was a hard man to interview, Bjarne, back in the day. Remember, Scotty, when I tried to wind him up when he lost all that weight at I think it was Monaco Tour de France. I remember going up and going, "Geez, Bjarne, you're looking in good nick." And he just looked at me like, "Piss off!" Like, gave us absolute donuts. Yeah.
We did. I think we did a Lost in Translation with him, didn't we? When he was
We did.
He was speaking Danish interview. Yeah.
Yeah. And I could see why him and Nygaard clicked. Not only they look like brothers, but very
Mini-me.
similar straight mindset at times. Yeah, mini-me. Yeah.
Now, I
Classic
do have a
moment.
good, I do have a good little iffy story for you guys to start the show off with. I was going to do it in my private little studio inside, because last time I was out here on the deck, the patio at the Gambia, I got eaten by the mosquito. So I was having it inside. So Kay's got me doing a little bit of her bucket list and things. So I put some new shelves up for her in the bedroom, which is where I was going to be filming from. I had all set up. 3 minutes to go to close the sliding door, and the brackets that I put on, I've actually screwed them right through the wall and the sliding door. So she's stuck.
Oh, no.
So I had to race out and set up the studio back outside with the mosquitoes.
How'd that go down?
It hasn't gone down real well, but anyway.
Plenty of time to put it back up before it gets dark.
Yeah. Hey, smart thinking though, because sometimes it gets a bit breezy up there, so that door will not rattle in the wind now. That's good.
It won't move at all, exactly. Anyway, I thought you'd like that.
Some other breaking news is Garner is tested positive for COVID. He was, I think, with the Italian guys gearing up for the track or whatever. What's the latest, Waddy, over in Spain and Europe?
Yeah, look, things are going to get worse before they get better over here, mate. I'm in Spain, and then we've had record positives this week. I think we're at at least 20,000 a day. And at the moment, we're waiting for news about more restrictions. At the moment, we've just got a nighttime curfew from 11 till 6, and that's it at the moment. But I know that other European countries are closing down around us, so. The UK's gone into a lockdown, just essential services. Italy's gone into a degree of lockdown. So is Belgium. So is France. So yeah, things are not looking good for the immediate future. And I think countries they're a little bit scared just with the weight on the medical service at the moment. So they are forcing a lockdown now before Christmas, before the flu season starts. So yeah, things are not looking super. And there is more positive. Yeah, actually. I live in a town of 25,000, and you're actually hearing that now. I think there's 20 cases in my town, but before there was none. So it's coming, and there's people around with COVID, but school's still carrying on, and other activities are carrying on pretty much as normal for the moment.
So, Whitey, this is going to be a very different off-season. Previously you'd been able to have group camps. There was years that you go out to Australia. That's obviously not going to happen. How does this change the dynamic for you guys with your off-season and your prep for next year? Yeah,
it does. So the Australian summer of cycling will be happening to a certain degree, as you've seen this week. So there will be racing on. But at the moment, I think I'm only going to have 4 or 5 guys going back to Australia in total this year. We've already got 2 back in Australia at the moment, Cam Meyer and Lucas Hamilton, and they both get out of quarantine today, actually. They'll be happy little campers after 2 weeks in a hotel room. There's a couple of other guys going home in the next 10 days, and then I think the majority of the Australian women in our team are going home over the next couple of weeks. But for us, we've obviously got a new bike sponsor in Bianchi, and we'll be we'll be doing some get-togethers, but not camps. One, we're restricted by meeting numbers in certain parts in Spain and Italy. But we will be getting the bikes handed over to the guys over the next 2 weeks so they can go home and start getting used to their new bikes. But a lot of the stuff now is we'll be basically going back to what cycling was like 20 years ago, before there was big racing in Australia. We'll be starting our calendar plan in France and in Spain in February. Tour of Valencia, all those sort of races, Mallorca, Ruta del Sol, Murcia in February. And barring restrictions, we'll be having pretty much an all-in training camp in January, somewhere in Spain, probably down where I live, down near Valencia, because the weather is really good down here. It's like Brisbane in June, July. It doesn't rain so much. 15 to 20 degrees, and there's an indoor velodrome down here which we can get on and use that for testing and setting up with our guys on the TT bikes especially. So it'll just be the program will be a lot more simple. I don't think there'll be any Tour of Colombia or any racing in Argentina this year neither. So it'll just be like what the season used to look like 20, 25 years ago, which is just basically a lot of races in Western Europe to start the year.
Well, I do have some breaking news for you, Whitey, for the girls and for the 4 guys who are in Australia. Bay Crits are back, and they're going to be on the weekend that would have been Cadell, so the 30th and 31st of January. So they might be up just before the Nationals. So, I'll talk to you off air about all of that.
Well, the way things are going, the Bay Crits may actually be World Tour status. With the way
Well, I'll be the first big race in Victoria for a long, long time, so it'll be fantastic. Yeah,
good to hear, Johnny.
Whitey, for people that don't know the process, take us through. Most teams do obviously a review on the year. What is that process like for you guys, and is it a difficult process when you have to have hard discussion with riders or staff? Like, take us through generally what happens year on year when you reflect.
Yeah, sure. So the thing that's different about this year is, so usually in a year I will go to Tour of Switzerland, Dauphiné and Slovenia in one block, which is two weeks before the Tour de France starts, and I usually go visit those 3 races so I can tap into 21 of our 27 riders within a 4-day period, and then I sit down with those guys and I already do a sort of a half-year review there with the guys, and then give them their race program for the second part of the season. Now, that obviously went out the window this year with the season being upended and totally revamped. So actually, there's a lot of guys in this team, unless the guys did a race with me in the second half of the season, there's a big chunk of the guys I actually haven't physically seen this year. So over the next week, I will be going to Sunday afternoon. I'm going to drive up to Girona. And because we have such a big group of our guys in Girona and the Andorra region, which is a 2.5-hour drive, I'll be touching base with those guys and their coaches next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then getting in a car and driving across to Italy, where we'll be doing a second camp get-together with the group. We've got a few guys who live in Italy, then we've got a couple of guys who live in Monaco and some other guys. So I'll be touching base with probably 85% of the team in the next week. And then we go through a bit of a review of this season, as strange as it was and how unorthodox it was. And then we basically start looking forward to what the guys can work on, what they need to work on individually in the off season, and what we're looking for out of season 2021. Now, the strange part of the dates of everything that has happened this year is I only know at the moment the Tour de France route, and I only know the basics of the Tour de France route. It's a start. But it sort of helps me put some ideas together, which I can discuss with our performance management group for who we're planning for riding the Tour. The Giro, we haven't seen the route, but the Giro's a Giro. There's no surprises what it'll look like. It'll be something very, very tail end heavy. But the details of time trials and so on, we'll find out over the next month, I dare say. And the Vuelta's still going on this year, so they're busy enough getting this Vuelta finished, let alone organising next year's edition. So that's the sort of plan. We haven't got many big changes in the roster this year. We've only got four new guys, and Michael Matthews was already in the team in the past, so we know how he operates. So it's basically getting our new guys assimilated into the team as quickly as possible and giving them a clear program and clear focus for the winter. And the next time we'll see everyone in person will be mid-January, like I said before, somewhere down where I live in Spain, and get a big group get together. And we start working on the big base kilometers as a team. But the coaches each 85-90% of our team coach internally, and so those guys, the individual has already been in contact with their coaches already. The Vuelta guys, obviously, we're giving them a little bit of time, but no, everyone's had time except for those 8 still racing to reflect on the season already. And when we get into those one-on-one meetings, there's some hard discussions that have to be had, but they're only for the benefit of the riders and for the team moving forward.
Scooter,
Whitey, are you? This is just a question without notice, but are you able to give us a bit more insight into how Michael Matthews the discussions came about that he was coming back to the team, and how far back that went? What can you tell us about how that all went down?
So when Michael left the team, it was just because he was looking. We were in a difficult situation because we had him and Simon Gerrans were both in the team at the same time. Basically, they were very, very similar type of rider, except there's a 10-year age difference. And the last year of the team, Simon had one more year. Michael Matthews come up for contract, and Michael was at a stage in his career where he was looking for more opportunities and to lead the team. So he left the team on a good note. He just was looking at we could understand what he was looking for. So we kept in contact with Michael, and I kept in contact with Michael through that couple of years he was at Sunweb, and it was a good break. And where it came about was, I suppose, his non-selection in this year's Tour de France team. Now he was preparing for the Tour de France. He thought he was going to the Tour de France, and he wasn't really happy with how that all evolved. And that's where the contact started. And he had 1 year left on his contract. And look, he said he was interested in coming back to the team, but we don't get involved in any type of negotiations for getting guys out of their contracts. So we left that up to him and his management. And if he could get out of his contract with Sunweb, we were certainly interested in picking him up.
That's good. Yeah, well, Sunweb obviously had a great tour, and Mark Hershey, just was amazing, and a couple of stage wins from other riders as well. So I guess from their perspective, they probably thought it was a good thing, but we just don't know, do we? Because Michael could have contributed and won stages there as well had they taken him.
Yeah. Look, it's interesting because there's been a couple of high-profile guys leave that team under contract over the last couple of years. Dumoulin paid his way to leave 12 months ago, and now Michael's left. So, yeah, look, they're a team that they keep finding young talent. They've got a very good development team. But, yeah, it's interesting having their two highest paid and high-profile guys leave under contract in the last 2 years. It certainly draws some questions of why people want to leave a team under contract,
Maybe they've had trouble going from being a Dutch team to a German team. Maybe that swap over's been too hard for them.
There's not too much German about them. It's a Dutch team. They've been around for a long time under that management group. But they do have quite strong links with the German Federation, and they do have some good young talented Germans coming through the roster. So, no, look, for us it's exciting. What bringing Michael back into the team certainly opens up a lot, especially on the one-day front. We can go after a lot of monuments and big one-day races with Michael. Milan-San Remo, the Age Bastion on the Age, Amstel Gold, the Canadian World Tour races, Lombardy even, Tour of Flanders. They're all races that Michael's capable of winning. And to have someone on your roster who's capable of winning those races certainly does bring a big buzz back to the organisation. And, Michael's only 30 years of age. And so he's got a lot of wins in front of him. And I think he's going to thrive back here. And I'm pretty excited, actually, what I saw from the opening 2 stages of the Tour de France. Two uphill finishes straight up, which certainly suit him. So, without having our Tour de France team picked or our goals nailed down, I would think that we'll be going pretty heavy in backing Michael in the first couple of days of the Tour to try to get that yellow jersey next year.
Hey, Waddy, what are the things that you look for in a rider that is a big tick, and what are the things that generally are the ones where you have to have a hard discussion? Because if you're dealing with their coaches and they go, well, all my numbers were good and I just can't explain if the form wasn't there or whatever, what are the big pluses and what are the things that you sort of have to say, hey, well, that just wasn't up to scratch?
Yeah, I suppose it depends. Year to year depends on what you're looking for. So we knew this year with all the issues that we had with COVID and the fact that we were offering everyone a new contract for next year, we knew that we wouldn't have many spots available. And we also knew a couple of guys were leaving. And so we needed to replace them quickly. So, for example, I had a pretty good indication Jack Haig was going to be leaving the team. So I needed a world-class climber to come in to support, to replace him. So, so you've got to go look through the rosters, and we usually look through the English-speaking rosters first, and it's pretty easy to find out what those guys are, what the personalities are like with those guys, because we've got someone in those teams who have raced with them before, and I needed someone reliable, especially in the back end of a 3-week tour to be there for Simon Yates, and that's where we come across Tanel Kangat. Now, a lot of you guys wouldn't know too much about Tanel. He's been around a long time, 10 years, did a big chunk of his career at Astana. He started with Ag2r, went to Astana, and then he's doing the last 2 years at EF. Now, he's been a part of Nibali's Giro and Vuelta wins, Contador's wins. He's been around. He's been a part of a lot of Grand Tour wins with Astana in the past. He's only 33, and I tried to get him 2 years ago, and actually he was under contract. So I, again, kept in contact with him and then approached him quite early in the season this year. And he was looking for a change, and I think he's going to be a great addition to our roster. And so that was one key move there. I needed to replace Jack. And the other one, if we're looking for younger talent, so we've got a young Italian, again, who's coming to the team this year, who was third in the Baby Giro this year. And we're obviously looking for young up-and-coming climbers and young up-and-coming guys in general. And he was a guy, we've obviously got Bianchi on board this year, for the next couple of years. And he's a very talented young Italian. And, again, you just got to do your research, Jonesy. You've got to talk to people who have coached them, who've managed them, and try to, and if you can, meet them in person as well. Do a bit of face-to-face talking with the guys. And pretty easy to suss people out, I think, and finding out what they're looking for, especially depending on what point they are in their career. What's Tanel Kangat looking for at 33 years of age? He's looking to ride for a big leader, to be part of more successful wins in Grand Tours. So it was an obvious choice for us. The other one for us was the big Norwegian who's coming to the team, Amund Jansen. He has been in Jumbo-Visma's Tour de France team the last 3 years. Another guy looking for a little bit of a change. I think he's been a little bit pigeonholed in that roster as just another Tony Martin, another real strong guy in the engine room. But I sort of see a little bit more to him than that ability. I think he's a fast guy. He's got a real good kick of speed on him, but he's also very, very strong, and he's going to get more opportunities in this roster than he will in Jumbo, because Jumbo, as strong as they are, they've also got Groenewegen, who's a world-class sprinter, and they've also got Wilk van Aert. And Tunison as well. So he was looking for more opportunities and looking for a change of pasture. So I think those two guys coming out of very good World Tour teams already proven. I think they're going to be very good add-on additions for us for 2021.
Well, they won't have Groenewegen until the 7th of May next year.
I saw that, and I actually think that's a very, very rough call from the UCI. I think nine months for that it's pretty rough. I think
he can appeal.
Yeah,
I know he probably will.
We debated that last night, Whitey. I agree with you 100% because it's all about the consequences of because it was such a bad. But most of those were because of the organisation, not because of Groenewegen, and he just did. What would have been normally a simple 4, but that was so badly.
You know who I blame for all of this? Alan Davis. I'm sure he's got a finger in it.
He was putting the barriers out that day. Yeah.
Now, before you go, Whitey, sorry, mate. I was going to say we really should.
No. Well, what I was going to say is more like I'll wind the clock back. Remember when we did that camp in 2011 and we were talking to Craig Bellamy? And he was addressing the guys and he did this awesome speech. I should bloody try and find it and just show snippets. But he said that when he looks for a player, what he wants is a guy that his best game's here and his worst game's there. That's who he looks for at Melbourne Storm. And that's the bar. And he can't handle guys that he just doesn't know what he's going to get out of. What I was leaning towards is like when you have these reviews and these hard chats with riders, is that essentially what you're looking for in every rider on the team when they've got a role, they deliver on that role, and you know what you're going to get. If it deviates off that and it goes into the realms of, I don't know what I'm going to get out of this ride on any given stage, is that usually the hardest conversation that you have in these reviews?
Yeah, and I think Jonesy, we've got a pretty good culture there that guys who don't deliver at a certain level, they get caught out pretty quick on this team, and it doesn't matter who you are. And I think it gets policed very well internally as well. So I think everyone knows by the time they get to the end of the season how their season's been, and I think the guys who are honest and upfront, they recognise that there's areas that they need to work on. But I think it's creating a culture in a team where anything less than that level is just not acceptable. And I think these days the guys don't race a hell of a lot anyway. And I think so you've got to be at a high level every time you do pin a number on, because 20, 25 years ago people were racing 100 plus days a year, 120 days a year, and you can't be at a super high level when you're racing so much. But when you're racing 50 to 70 days a year, we expect it at a certain level, and the best way to police that is to have it in the culture of the team that's accepted. If you've got a role, you need to deliver. If you don't deliver, well, then you get chances to not deliver, but it's just not accepted within the group.
Scotty,
can I just listening to what you're saying there, Whitey, just for the listeners, what I reckon I can expand on that is that when you go back to when the riders were racing 100 to 120 races a year, what that meant was they knew that they would do X number of races, and then by another month or another 6 weeks, they would be at a certain level of fitness. So they could sort of half guarantee where they would be in terms of their level because of the racing that they did. So that was their training by doing those races. Whereas now you have to be so motivated and so in tune with your body to train, nutrition, do everything just right, so that when you do come out to a race now, that you're not doing the race for training. You have to be ready to go. And that's a different mindset to, I think, than what it was, I guess, when Whitey, when you and I, we were, in our prime, it was a different mindset back then to where they are now.
And even more different when Iffy did the Giro, rolled up fat.
Having a smoke, yes.
It is. I think it's also a different mind, and that mindset also transfers across to racing. The racing for these guys now is not fun. It is. There's not too much chit chat time with your mates. It's cutthroat because people have got such a small window of the season to race, and everything. With social media, with television, with the coverage that's available, everything is exposure. Before a lot of the races weren't televised. A lot of the races were seen as training races, so they were fun. They were races where there was a very small percentage of people taking it very, very seriously. A lot of those January, February races were races just to get you ready for when the season started in March. That doesn't exist anymore. There is, if you come to any race on the calendar under 90%, you're going to get beat down from that race instead of use it to improve. So it is. It's a training mindset. It's a specific training mindset. You've got to do a lot of your hard yards at home, not at races. And when you do get to races, you've got to be prepared because now the guys are doing pretty much altitude camps nearly for every big block of their season now, and it's a very, very different environment.
I was just going to say, this is our third Grand Tour. We're just about to finish our third Grand Tour, and I reckon there's only been 2 stages in the whole 3 Grand Tours where they did any cruising along. There was one stage that I can think of, but really 2, mate, and the whole 3 Grand Tours. Never heard of that before.
Yeah. And I think the Vuelta's been great racing. The stages, besides yesterday's 230K grind, 150, 170K stage, you're going to get more aggressive racing anyway. And I think they've done a great job with the course in the Vuelta this year. And it's been great to watch on television.
Let's scroll through some of the fan comments. Jenny Whitehead, good evening, guys. Of course, Wendy's superfan. Hi, guys. Hi, Wendy. We've got another one from Tom. He says, hi, guys, some cycling trivia. My Slovenian son-in-law, Matej, informs me that Roglic pronounced Roglish means croissant, speaking of donuts. So there's an interesting stuff.
On your tummy.
On your tummy. Sam says, wouldn't it be beneficial to train in Australia? Surely you wouldn't need to quarantine on your return from virtually COVID-free country. I'm not sure, coming from Europe, there's a lot more COVID, but does that knowing that the Tour Down Unders is going to be a changed dynamic, there will be opportunities, particularly for your team, Whitey. Does that put a little bit more sort of emphasis on, hey, guys, if you do go out and cop the 2 weeks, there will be some racing, there will be some opportunities. Obviously, you got your nationals as well. Does that change it a little bit?
You would think so, but I've been talking to the guys over the last couple of days, and a lot of the guys are really put off by the 2-week quarantine. I think we could be quarantined within a week or two here in Europe, back in our homes. We just don't know, but I think people are really. We had a 3-month quarantine here in March, April, May, and I think people don't want to go back. Besides the fact that to get back to Australia at the moment, you pretty much got to fly business class, or you can't get a flight. You've got to pay that $3,000 or $4,000 at the hotel. So it's an expensive process to get back to Australia at the moment. You're looking at no change out of $10,000.
They are talking about
14 days in a hotel.
Well, they're talking about changing it to home quarantine, where ankle bracelets or something, but instead of going to hotels, you'd be able to quarantine at home. So, yeah.
Oh, I think they did that. It makes it a lot more attractive spending a time at home instead of a hotal room.
Yeah. That was on
just
the news
download
tonight.
that. Just download that COVID app. That works really well. Just sort of add that little zinger in there.
I thought you said that Maddie had to go, or maybe I misheard. But I'd love to talk about the women's Vuelta, which starts today, and how the Mitchell Scott girls are looking for that.
Well, look, John, I'll be honest, I haven't seen the course profiles for the women's race, but I know that I saw the roster we've got. Any time that Annemiek van Vleuten lines up, they're in for a chance of winning, that's for sure. And she's had such a great relationship with the team over the last few years. I'm sure she will be going down, trying to get one last win for the team. And what a year she's had. It's been a shame for her to be in the World Champions jersey this year with such limited races, but I can't remember off the top of my head her percentage of wins for race starts this year, but it's incredible. I know at the start of it, when we started back, she was like 7 wins from 9 starts or something ridiculous like that. So she's been an incredible team member, and wish her all the best for the next year. And but she'll go down trying to win one last time in the Madrid Classic.
Well, today is a ripper for it because it's a 3-day race this year. So it's a Kurt de Zit challenge by Vuelta. So today they've got, it's in the Toledo region, so Holy Toledo. They've got 82.8 kilometres. And it's a very hilly stage. So, but so it's 3 days. And then tomorrow the time trial, and then 17 laps of the circuit
the final circuit in Madrid. Yeah, well, she'll be on the attack today for sure, and we know how good a time trial she is, so she'll be hard to beat in that. So I would think she'd be one of the favourites for sure there, John.
There you go.
Lisa Brennauer, Ellen Van Dijk, another couple will be in this. I think this first stage, Johnny, is lumpy, but not overly difficult from what I'd read into it, and the last stage is not. And it's only a 9.5K time trial. So
it's lumpy, but the last 800 metres is straight uphill, mate.
Yeah. A lot will go down on the result today, then, won't it? Won't be too big gaps tomorrow.
And unfortunately, only 3 Aussies. So Sarah Roy and Jessica Allen with your mob, and Rachel Nalen in there as well. So not as many Aussies. A lot of them are watching them.
Freddie's not doing it.
She's not on the list.
No, Spratty's having a rest, I think, mate. She did a couple of those races after she come back from a concussion, but she's in the off season, and then we've already got I think 3 or 4 girls already back in Oz having a rest already for getting ready for next season. Because there has been quite a big gap between the last women's race and this one.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, I've got a few more questions. Tom says Bianchi has a strong connection back into early Aussie cycling culture. When pre-internet, we waited for info from Europe, often through Italians like Mario Giramondo, and Italian bikes were the bee's knees. Bianchi was, remember old Alan Lang? He loved Bianchi.
He loved, yeah.
Obsessed.
Because Forster Copy was his hero, and he was Mr. Bianchi as far as the old bikes are concerned.
And he had that frame up on his wall in his apartment that he never wrote it, but it was just there. Like he just loved it.
1 year on the Giro.
Look,
the one thing he wanted to do was go to the Bianchi factory. Yeah, they're great bike. And we drove straight past it and never went in. And he never forgave me for that. But anyway.
Yeah. We've got another question for you, Whitey. Kevin McIntosh says, Whitey, how would you rate this year?
In general, I'd give us a B+. I think we started off well. I think obviously we've had our ups and downs. I think we had a few good wins there. Obviously, the Tour de France was really solid there, especially with Adam. 4 days in yellow, 2 stages, second place with Luka Mesjek. Then the Giro was pretty disappointing, I have to say. We had a team there that was ready to win that Giro, and it's certainly the one that got away for us. But look, it was a decision that we had to take at the time with 5 members of the team going positive for COVID. And the Vuelta's been okay. It's been, look, hopefully Mikel can move up. He's going to find it hard with only one hilltop finish. He's dropped out just outside the top 10 now. The boys have been on the attack looking for a stage in the Vuelta, but it hasn't come around yet. Today will be probably the last roll of the dice for most of those guys. It should be a breakaway today. And then probably a breakaway again on tomorrow as well on Covertia. But I think in general, the year's been good. It's been very, very disrupted. But it's been a good year for us, and we're looking forward. I think most people are looking forward to put it behind us and focus on 2021.
Gary Tilley wants to know: is Esteban still not fully recovered from Epstein-Barr?
No, he is 100% fine. He's been fine for 2 seasons now, mate. It's he's no effects at all from Epstein-Barr.
Yep. Kirsty wants to know, Whitey, if you jumped on Jerry's horse at $100 on the nose, that would have helped a bit.
It would have helped. It would have helped my wallet. Yeah, it would have. I did not bet on that one. No, unfortunately.
Did he not give the tips? Did Jerry not hand out those tips or what?
No, he handed out the wrong ones apparently because John.
No, he handed out the right ones. He handed out the right ones. I just didn't write them down correctly.
You get
iffy story.
Which Tony Hemming? Which group set will you use with Bianchi bikes? Whitey? You know?
No, we are staying with Shimano. So our bikes will look very, very similar to the bikes that Jumbo Visma are on at the moment. Although they are releasing a brand new climbing bike with us next year. So we'll be on a brand new disc brake climbing bike with Bianchi starting January 1.
For the fashionistas, in terms of kit, will the Celeste colours come up into the jersey, into the kit somehow? Is that going to happen? Well,
that was Kirsty's question as well.
Oh, never say never. Never say never. Look, Bianchi are our. We will certainly be looking different. Because Scott and yellow was a colour that Scott would like to have on our jersey. Bianchi are a bike sponsor only, so they're not a part sponsor or a co-sponsor. So it'll be interesting what we look like for 2021. I haven't seen any designs of shirts as yet, but who knows? We might see the famous Celeste Bianchi in our kit for 2021.
Well, who does that? Who will come up with the design?
There'll be a combination of people, but at the end of the day, it'll be okayed by Jerry.
Yeah, right.
You might have to contract Brian Nygaard. He'll come up with a kit design.
I just got a text come through here as we were talking. Annemiek van Vleuten, Jenica Essing, Jessica Allen, Sarah Roy, Georgia Williams, and Jessica Roberts is the team for today. So there you go.
Just a little side note, John. Next time, can you buy a better light in the Gamby?
Oh, hang on, I forgot to turn the light on. I'll go and turn the light on. That might help.
Right. Looks like a bloody
his transition glasses were working so good he didn't notice it was getting dark around him.
Oh, it's like a 60 Minutes interview with the Nagambi Strangler. Another question for you, Whitey. Was it a blow to split up the Yates brothers, Jonathan Buckley?
There we go. How's that?
Yeah, way better.
Look, I think it was. But look, it was eventually going to happen. It's they're two brothers who are very, very similar in ability and very similar in the goals they want to chase. And we managed it well so far. But I think it's natural as well for guys after 6-7 years. Some guys to be looking for other teams to apply their trade. Will miss Adam. He's been a great contributor to this team since he joined. But I think it'll be interesting how they race apart. They didn't race too much together, but they're still twins and they're still very tight. And like Adam left on a really great note, and it was great for him to deliver for us this year at the Tour de France in his last tour for us.
Well, they're both from Manchester, and look what happened to Oasis. You know, they split up, so it's all the same.
That was nasty. They got really nasty between them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Some great docos on that. Ian Thomas wants to know, is Simon doing okay now, Matt?
He is. So the only symptom that Simon had from COVID was he had some issues with tasting things. So I don't know if I haven't spoken to him for the last 4 or 5 days, but for the first week or two, he was some things he didn't taste at all. And so he's fine. He's fine. I think he gets back on his bike pretty soon. He's had nearly a month off already now, which is good because it gives his body total time to get rid of the virus. But we had some of our staff who tested positive at the Giro. They tested positive even after 17 days. So they ended up spending 21 days in a hotel room after the Giro. They only got out this Monday, poor buggers. So Fausto, one of our Swannies, and one of our doctors they only went home on Monday. It was in 4 days ago from the Giro. So it was a long time in quarantine for those guys. And again, all of our staff are fine now, and just glad to be home back with their families.
How's my old mate Chicho going?
Good, mate. He didn't get the COVID, which is probably good for a guy of his age, but he's good, mate. And his English is the same as it was with your Italian.
So for the backstory, there was a mechanic with the team, Chicho. I don't know what his age is, but he's no spring chicken, great bloke, mid-60s.
He's only a young bloke.
Yeah, and we communicated for 4 years. It was literally, I'd go, Chicho, and he'd go, Dad. And that was it. That was our conversations for 4 years. I think we were at dinner one night, and someone said, have you had many conversations with Chicho? I said, yeah, I talk to him all the time. And then I was like, hang on, no, I don't. All it is he's a legend, though.
Buongiorno, Chicho. Hello and goodbye in Italian. That's it.
That's it. Yep. And it's a shame. We had Rory Sutherland on the other night, and he was talking about how, he forced himself out of the comfort zone and now he can speak 3 or 4 languages. I was in Spain for 6 years, and all I can say is dos cerveza, por favor, muchas gracias, adios. And that's about it. So, anyway.
You got by, Dan. You got by.
Exactly. It's been fantastic to have you on the show, mate. We really appreciate it, and obviously it's going to be a pretty different off-season, as we said, but I'm sure you guys will go strength to strength, and with obviously the inclusion of guys like Bling next year, there's a lot, particularly for the Aussie audience as well, to look forward to. So, anything you want to add, Iffy, Scotty, before we let Whitey go?
No, I'll give you a buzz, Whitey, and we'll talk turkey on the bakerits.
We'll talk numbers. Talk numbers. No, you're talking about a different off season. I remember my early days as a kid getting the magazines out of Europe and reading stories from the Sean Kellys and Phil Andersons and these guys, and they used to talk about back in the day before them that they used to do, the only training camps they would do would be like maybe a cross country skiing camp, and then they'd rock up to Paris-Nice. So I guess the riders these days will still be in a little bit better condition than they were back then.
Yes,
no doubt.
Yes, they'll have a few more 1,000 kilometres in the legs by the time we roll round to Paris-Nice. I think exactly. the guys already will be starting. The ones who finished a month ago will already be starting to get on the bikes pretty soon and looking for some fair weather training environments and hoping those guys don't get locked down any time soon, that they can actually keep training.
Last question before we let you go. I think it was meant to be Whitey, but he said Whitney. Whitney, a young Aussie speaking English like Dutch or Slovenians now?
A young Aussie speaking English like Dutch or Slovenian?
I think Tomcat's been on the Sherbats.
No, I'm not sure what exact. Tommy, you better rewrite that one, mate.
Yeah, I don't know what that question is.
In fact, I should have pre-read it before I popped it up. That's my bad.
And Whitney was a great singer.
I think what he's trying to say, are the young Aussies learning the other languages, like the Slovenians and all that are speaking good English? Are the young Aussies coming in learning the other languages?
Yes and no. I think at the moment, a lot of the young guys are going to English-speaking teams. And I think where they live, a lot of them do live in Andorra or Girona, and there is quite a big bubble of Anglos in those environments. So I think that the ones who pick up the foreign languages the quickest are usually the ones with foreign partners out of necessity. But yes and no. So there's a combination of guys. Some guys are and some guys aren't.
Is there any advice that you give to those riders in those sorts of things? About language and picking it up and just be able to integrate more rather than be in just an Aussie or an Anglo bubble?
Yeah, I think the difference is, well, when we went through the professional ranks, you had no choice. So you had to be in an Italian or a German or a Dutch or a Belgian team. And I think it was actually quite good for us. I think it gave you a different perspective on things, different cultures. And I suppose when you do, now professional cycling is so different. It is so more than 50% of the teams are English-speaking teams. Teams that there is no Italian teams anymore. UAE is an English-speaking team. Bahrain's an English-speaking team. Jumbo Visma, Lotto Soudal, Quickstep. So the vast majority of the teams now you can survive with just speaking English. But the difference is, I think, culturally, a lot of those guys are quite remote and don't assimilate too much into local culture. And I think it's been good part of my growing up in different teams to actually be forced into other cultures, into other teams. And I think you do learn a lot from that as well.
Yeah, I think it's a big benefit later on, like 10, 15, 20 years later when they've gone out of professional cycling. I think that's when they really benefit from it. And also perhaps in the workforce, they can go back in and work for other countries and other nations with the TV or teams or whatever as well. I think it's something they should be encouraged to do more.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, depends on the person. If you're linguistically lazy like me, you struggle to pick up languages. So I've really missed an opportunity there. So apologies to the Espanol. All right, Whitey. Thanks for coming on, mate. We'll no doubt speak again soon. And all the best with the Offie.
Oh yeah, it's a shame I won't be coming back to Australia this year. So it'll be the first time ever since 1992 that I haven't come back to Australia.
Oh wow!
Yeah. But, really?
Yeah, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun as long as school keeps going ahead and I can get out and exercise. No complaints here.
Good stuff, mate.
See you, Whitey.
All right, Whitey.
Cheers, mate. Good on you. Matt White, Sports Director of Michelin and Scott. That was a great chat. There's a good insights there with different preparations for 2020 off-season. Now, John, it's come to that time of the show. Sharpen up your notes. Unpack your paper. It's Mitchelton Wines plug time.
It's easy to do. Mitchelton, one of Australia's favourite wineries.
I've got to cut you off. I've got to cut you off. Every time you start it, it always starts with you clearing your throat.
Yeah.
It's
do you want me to choke?
Get down to Mitchelton. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
Oh, well, please. So we would like you to travel down to Australia's favourite wineries.
That's better.
A place of escape. Experience the history, the beauty, and the serenity of the Goulburn Valley at your own pace. Looking over the vineyards from the iconic tower, staying in the new hotel, relaxing by the pool, recharging in the day spa, exploring the seasonal menu at the Muse, stopping by the Providore, touring the cellars, and of course, tasting their signature wines. It's also becoming very popular as a venue for weddings and major functions. Just look at that happy couple and that happy couple. And of course, the Aboriginal Art Gallery is world class. So get in there. It is just amazing. You will be stunned by the amount and quality of Aboriginal art in there. And of course, there is always the old Land Cruiser, $10,000 Land Cruiser with a $1.45 million paint job.
Oh, it's going up in 50s.
I couldn't remember what the last one was, but anyway.
It's just the last few bits, mate. You got to slow it down the last few bits just to get that little bit extra. Yeah.
All right. Great stuff. All right, here's a quick word from our great mates at Bike Exchange.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike. 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
John, I've got some breaking news that you can take back to Jerry. Your ads are working. Cheryl has just booked 2 nights at Mitchelton.
Here you go. On your shares.
Well done.
Top young
Right,
lady.
now.
No,
Hey,
cheers, well.
with Bike Exchange ad there, I didn't get it through them, but I had a new bike today. So new bike day, it's always exciting for a rider.
What'd you get?
I got a mountain bike. So a Focus mountain bike. And it's, while I didn't pay what people normally pay, that's the privilege of knowing people and being a former pro. But I had to buy it. I did have to buy
Yeah,
it.
bloody
And be the director of the Herald Sun too,
First bike I've had to
Any
actually
of you
pay for a
peasants
long time.
listening out there, we apologise. You have to pay retail. Sorry.
Yeah.
Carry on,
No,
Scott.
But beautiful bike, seriously. Under 10 kilos, mountain bike.
Focus.
It's a Focus, yeah. I'll be focusing every time I go out in the bush here now. Northern kangaroos everywhere.
And so the point of that story was to tell people that you got a discount.
So nothing. We put a bike exchange ad on, and you go and say, "Well, you put a bike." I didn't use bike exchange, and I didn't pay retail. So, what is the point of that story, Scott?
Well, seeing the ad sparked my brand new bike.
Hey, Scotty, get your pads
but
on.
people
We're
should go to
bowling
Bike
short,
Exchange.
mate.
People should
Yeah.
go to.
I can't wait to see the question. I reckon you'll get some really good feedback. I hope they come on before we get off here. But anyway.
Oh, the day Scotty got hit with a bouncer from Iffy off the long run. He's just... Okay. Now, at the top of the show, we promised people that you guys are going to rate the first 7 teams from alphabetical order of the World Tour. It's time to kick things off with Ag2r.
Ag2r.
Yep. Who wants to open the batting? Scotty, you've copped a couple of short ones. I'll let you do it.
I'll start, and then Johnny, you can chime in over the top. So Ag2r Le Mondial. So they've had 5 wins this year, only 5. Okay, which is not much. Only one of those wins was a World Tour win, and that was a good one because it was Nance Peters at the Tour de France with the stage. So that wasn't bad. Benoit Cosnefroy, he had a couple of 3 wins as well. So not too bad from those guys. But they failed in what they were trying to do, which was actually get up there and on the podium at the Tour de France. 5 stage wins. For me, I gave them a 5 overall. If you look through all the classics as well that they're trying to have a go at, Oliver Naesen was like their best man. 7th in Flanders, 7th in Van Nieuwsblad as well. But they're not, they're trying to be more than that. So I only gave them a 5. What did you say? What do you think, Johnny? Out of 10.
Yeah, look, well, pretty agree. Cosnefroy is doing a good job in this Vuelta. He's going to take the KOM jersey. I do like them. I like watching the race. They always have a go. They're up the race. So I gave them only a 5.5. I gave them the extra 0.5 because at least they have a bash, but 5.5. But other than Peters and Cosnefroy, they haven't done much. Bardet is leaving, and he hasn't done anything that they want to keep him for that. But it's a good, and Ben O'Connor is going there next year, which will be good to see. You would have expected a lot more from them.
Yeah,
I've got a feeling that I can predict a trend here. If his scores are probably going to be that 10% higher because he is so much that glass is half full guy.
Well, it's 5.5. It's only a fraction higher. Or
very positive man, John.
So, and I'll go first on this one then because
a starter, Borat.
Yeah, a starter. Early on, like the run of Vlasov looked really good. Jacob Fuglsang looked like he was going to have a great year. That all fizzled out, of course. The Ag2r brothers are always having a bash. Again, I like the fact that other than Vinokurov, which I haven't got much time for, but I like the fact they are an aggressive team. When it comes time to put riders on the front, pull things back, they're one of the best of that. But to their high standards, this is a pretty poor year. I think they've won about 14 races for the year, but they normally are a lot more than that, So I've only given them a 5.5 as well.
Ah, okay, 5.5. Well, I was a bit more optimistic then. So I gave them a 6.5 because they won 2 stages at the Tour de France, right? So that's the biggest race where you want to do it. They've won a stage in the Vuelta this year with Jon Izagirre. But Jakob Fuglsang, while he was trying to focus on the Giro, and that didn't work out, he was only 6th, I think, but he did win Il Lombardia. So Tour of Lombardy before that. So that's a monument. It's one of the big ones. So at least they got a monument, which gives, for me, more points. Vlasov, young guy that's coming through. He's sitting 9th at the Vuelta at the moment. I think we can expect big things from him. And they picked up a couple of reasonable wins, Giro Emilia, Memorial Macapantani, things like that. So I gave them 6.5, so a little bit more, mainly because of the stage wins at the Tour de France and Il Lombardia win for Fuglsang.
Okay, Scotty, open the batting for Bahrain.
Bahrain didn't do much, did they? So Bahrain, 9 wins for the year. And so one was the Giro stage win with Jan Tratnik, but that was the stage that he put Ben O'Connor away. So I should take points off them for that, beating the Aussie. And they've got a stage win at Paris-Nice as well. From the 9 wins, they've had 7 riders get them. So they haven't really had a dominant force at all. They signed Mark Cavendish. Cav has misfired completely. In the classics, they had a bit of a go with Dylan Teuns, but he was only 10th and 11th in Flanders in a few of those races. So I think a pretty poor performance by them. I've only just given them 5.5.
Johnny?
Yeah, I was very disappointed in Bahrain McLaren. And when Rod Ellingworth joined, I thought he'd be just the right man to turn this team around. They've got an Aussie in there, Heinrich Hausler, who they've given no love to this year. So anyway, and as you said, they haven't won much. I gave them 4.5.
Oof, very harsh. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
But fair enough. But I think Rod.
Oh no.
It'll be next year. I think it's next year.
Sorry.
Like he's got Rod Illingworth needs a year to actually sort the team out, doesn't he?
Oh, I guess so. And I mean, they had Cavendish. They hoped would be able to do something. Cav couldn't get it together. There are lots of disappointments, but they're a major team with a big budget. Didn't do bugger all. So 4.5.
Isn't it funny? Just on Rod, when the Grenadiers didn't have a great Tour de France, everyone was saying, "Oh, they're missing Rod. They are missing Rod." And then the Giro happens, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, they're all right. Carry on."
Yeah, they've gotten over it. They've gotten over it quick.
All right, Bora, Scotty.
Bora. Okay, so Bora 20 wins for the year. Now, the main man that gets them normally is Peter Sagan. He's only had 1 of those wins. So 19 wins going to other riders within the team. So that's tells us 2 things, all right? Peter was off his game, but he had 17 top 5s this year. So he was off his game, but still one of the best riders on the planet. But we expect so much more from him. And it was a good stage win of the Giro, but we want more from him. What it does mean, though, is all those other wins were taken out by other guys. So they have been able to develop a team that's not just a one-hit wonder in Peter Sagan. they've got Ackerman, they've got Schuckman, they've got a bunch of other guys that have done pretty good things. So Ackerman had 6 wins for the year, stages in the Vuelta, 2 stages in the Torino. And Max Schuckman won Paris-Nice overall and 3rd in Strade Bianche. So because Sagan has failed a bit for them, but the rest of the boys have stepped up, I've actually given them a bit of credit here because a win at Paris-Nice and, stage wins at the Vuelta and Torino, things like that, I've given them 7. I think they're actually surviving without Peter's victories, which is not too bad.
Yes, well, I've written down Bora Hansgrove, formerly Team Sagan, and what I've been impressed with is the fact that they have turned it around. They've got options. You've got Ackerman, and of course they won Paris-Nice as well. I'm sure. I think Ackerman's had 6 wins this year. An Aussie in there, Jay McCarthy, and I really felt for him when he crashed out. It looked pretty nasty too, because I don't think they haven't signed him up yet for this year. So I hear a couple of rumours going around, but hopefully Jay's too good a bike
He's too good a rider, yeah. Not to be in the World Tour for sure. And he's a good bloke, which helps.
Yeah, he's a character. So I've given him 6.5.
Okay.
So we're not far off. Only because you expect Peter Sagan to win a classic, whatever. I mean, he was up there. He ran third in or 4th in Milan-San Remo. Was up there, and third in Strada, I think. So he was up there, but
and second in both Giro and Tour points competitions as well. So we're just expecting to win those things. So he's off his game and still running second in the green jersey comp. So it's pretty good.
And the stage he won was pretty awesome.
True.
Yeah.
All right, CCC, Iffy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard to give them a bad mark, which I'm going to have to, because you feel for a team that's losing their sponsor or lost their sponsor, and really early it was pretty touted that they wouldn't be continuing.
Well, the hardest thing for Aussies to understand is, like, this is Cadell's team that won the Tour de France. Like, if this was the AFL, this is like the Hawthorn of 2013.
You're pinching that's my notes here, mate. Exactly right.
Sorry, mate.
They were the powerhouse, BMC. Cadell won the Tour de France with them, and to see them dropping down to, I think they only had 5 wins for the year. That's all I could see. And I don't know what's going to happen.
9, mate.
9, was it?
9.
Yeah. I don't know where the others were, but Paddy Bevan. I hope he gets a crack because he's a class act. I'm sure a lot of these guys will get picked up, but disappointing. And so they won a stage in the Giro, and they won the Tour of Poland. They look really good there. I mean, Tour of Poland's fairly big race, and they won it overall and won 5 stages. So it looked like they were going to go on and have a good year, but they all just fell away. So, that's what I said, 5 wins. It was 5 wins in the overall at the Tour of Poland. I can't read my own notes. Yeah. So I gave them a 5.
Okay. Scooter.
Same here. Was it Tour of Poland or Tour of Hungary? Because I know they won 4 stages in the overall at the Tour of Hungary.
It might have been too. Oh, yeah. Next door,
so
they're next door to each other.
But
easy to mix up.
Tour of Poland. Tour of Poland's a much tougher and harder race though. But so you think of 9 wins, but 5 of them came from the Tour of Hungary. With their Hungarian rider that's in their team, a young guy. So I had 5 for them. And one of the main reasons I gave them 5 was because Matteo Trentin actually wasn't bad. He was pretty consistent throughout the year. 3rd in Flanders. He was 4th in Het van Nieuwsblad. 3rd in the points jersey at the Tour de France, and beat Sagan in some of those intermediate sprints along the way. So he was aggressive and sort of kept them going.
Had a crack.
And 3rd in Flanders. You've got to give some respect to anyone that runs the podium in the classics. So.
Yep.
All right. Cofidis, Scotty.
Cofidis. This will be quick. They had 2 wins. And they had a big signing in Viviani, so they got him to come across and try and get some wins for a change because they haven't won anything at the Tour de France for so long. And from their 2 wins, okay, I'll tell you which ones they were, right? Anthony Perez won a stage of the Tour des Alpes, and And one of the riders also won a stage of La Tropical Amissa Bongo, which basically is the Tour of Gabon in Africa. A stage of the Tour of Gabon, which is just north of Angola.
That was the other Viviani. The other Viviani, wasn't it? Yeah, anyway, whatever.
Yeah. So, not basically, hey, a win's a win wherever you want to go. I get that. But, Viviani didn't fire for them. 2 wins that didn't really count for much. And Guillaume Martin looked like he might have been, promising at the Tour de France and then faded. So I gave them 4. Probably could have got less. But
I'm just looking at the team photo there. I don't know what Nathan Haas is doing. Looks like he's constipated or something.
No, he looks. What's that movie? Ben Stiller when he plays that
something about Mary.
No, the guy he plays the suave playboy. I can't think of it. That's what he's trying to do.
Zoolander.
Yeah, Zoolander.
It's the model.
Zoolander, mate.
Yeah.
Exactly the model. I've only got one thing. Yeah, one thing to say about Cofidis.
Yes,
4.
Yeah, I was said 4 as well, so that's good. Yeah,
that's it.
All right. It's been very on par, you boys.
Pretty consistent.
Good.
Fire away with Taconic Quickstep, Johnny.
Well, yeah, okay. They're a great team. They have been for a long time, and they're one of the hardest teams.
The Wolf Pack.
Contain. The Wolf Pack, yeah. Patrick Lefevre, he's got the one to touch. I mean, they lose some big stars, he finds some more, and he gets the best of the Belgian riders without any doubt. He's always searching for the talent. Alaphilippe, love to watch him race. Love to watch him throw him away sometimes. Felt for him big time in Tour of Flanders. He might have even won it. Would have gone close. He's had and as always has a great year. He's just a racer. And there, Sam Bennett won the point series in the Tour. There isn't a bike race that they're not at the front doing something. So one of my favourite teams, I gave him 8.5.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I gave them a 9. 39 wins for the year from 15 different riders. So it's a team that's strong with good riders, but there are 15 of them that got wins throughout the season. So that just shows the depth of talent in this squad. And Sam Bennett won stage 1 of the Tour Down Under, so he kicked off the season well. And what a great Tour de France that he had after that. Yoel Almeida at the Giro, he faded to 4th. Going in, he would have thought, so that was great. The publicity and the tension. He's only 22, so he's another star of the future. And he had great results before that as well. Settimana Coppi and Vuelta Burgos, 3rd overall in both of those tours early in the season. And Alaphilippe, you've already mentioned it there. How good was he? Apart from best on Liège.
And I didn't even mention, but we forgot about, I forgot about Remco Evenepoel. I mean, how good he was at the start of the year. I mean, he was just looked like he was going to win everything until he wiped himself out. But
Wombat Breath says Quickstep were easily the best looking team of the year. Currently have 4 guys in the top 20 on points.
Yeah, true. Well, with Remco, so Remco. We talk about Mark Hershey and Pogacar and all these young guys that have come through, and now Almeida as well. But Remco, before the Tour, everything was about Remco. Remco was like the young absolute superstar. Mathieu van der Poel and Wout van Aert, they're 25 and 26. But Remco was this guy that everyone just said, he is the next Eddie Merckx. He is just extraordinary. And when he crashed at Il Lombardia, I was shocked watching that race live, not because of the crash, but because of the way Quickstep completely smashed the race to pieces, right? There's such a small group coming into those last couple of climbs, much smaller than they normally are at that particular race, because they had so much confidence in this kid that could actually just ride away from everybody at the very end. Now, he didn't get to do that because he crashed and Fuglsang won, but that's how much confidence the team had in him, and he's a child. It was extreme.
And it's funny, he won the Tour of Poland, so I've got two winners of the Tour of Poland, but the other one was Hungary. Yeah, you're right.
One was more hungry than the other. Yeah. So I gave them a 9, and it's only because they didn't win the Tour de France, and that'll obviously be reserved for UAE when we get onto them later on.
All right. Well, that's a wrap of the first batch of 7 World Tour teams. Tomorrow we're going to do 7, then we'll finish with 8. Now, you said it was 22 teams.
No,
it wasn't. It's 19 teams.
Yeah, so it's 7.
No, so yesterday you ripped me and you said, it's 22, but it wasn't. It was
I said that.
19.
I apologise yesterday. You'd have to keep going on about it. That's right.
Fair, though. Fair.
22 teams in the Tour de France. I wasn't, of course, they have...
it was off air.
Johnny, it was off air that you apologised. So
was it?
Owe it to Dan, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, fair enough. I'll wear it up. 18. But you can't add up because we're doing 7 tonight and 6 tomorrow night and 6. So because 7, 6 and 6 makes... is what we're getting to.
Correct.
That's correct.
All right, I've got that. All right, Will Wizard. He says, guys, not looking good for next season. Here in Belgium, we are in lockdown. Restaurants, hotel, cafes, and bars all closed. Only 1 visitors to homes. Mask mandatory in workplace, not closed. So it's starting to get pretty serious. And he said, and typical being Belgium, 2 curfews, 1 for Wallonia and 1 for Flanders.
Of course.
Never the twain shall meet.
So then Stewie's come in and said, hang in there, Will Wizard. Melbourne's lockdown went for 112 days, but got COVID cases down to 0. 3 or 4 tough months and you'll be back in business. Isn't it funny how mentally now you're feeling like when you're in it and when you're in the lockdown, you're like, this is so shit. But when you start to come out of it and you see the positive effect that it's having, you quickly... You don't ever forget, but you move on pretty quick from that 4 months of lockdown. Yeah. So,
well, you're not seeing you're not seeing as much aggression towards Dan Andrews, Premier of Victoria, anymore. Now that things are eased up and the job's been done well, despite the quarantine stuff up with security at the start that caused it all in the first place. But look, Will Wizard's comment there that goes back to what we spoke about the other day, in that. None of the teams wanted to come out for Tour Down Under because they didn't want to be messed around with all the quarantine and the bubbles and all these things and travel. But Cadell's and TDU may be the only World Tour races that these guys will get to go in if they were going to be on for the first half of next year. Because if things don't change, they may actually be missing an opportunity to actually do some World Tour races by not coming to
too late now, mate. They're not happening.
Yeah.
John... The ratings for your Bay Crits might be through the roof, mate. Just prepare. Just prepare.
It's going to be huge.
In any crisis comes an opportunity, John.
Exactly.
Prepare for that.
Exactly.
Hey, we got something special sent from Kirsty Baxter, and she mocked up a kit of what the new one could look like.
Whoa! Take a photo of that. She has whipped that up tonight on Photoshop. Only one thing wrong. You can't really have Scott on there.
Scott, with
Bianchi.
Mate, she's done this within 5 bloody minutes.
That's great. That's great. She got the Bianchi colours, but I just would have slipped the Scott off there.
No, look, KB and I are good mates. That one's just my specific jersey for me to ride for my new bike. That's why it's got Scott on it.
Looks good though, doesn't
it? Very good, Scotty. Yeah. It should have Scott, race director, Herald's on Tour. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah.
Are you the race director for the Herald's on Tour?
Yes.
You know that.
I don't think you've ever mentioned that on this show.
He's got a couple of them. He's got them from both ends. You're the man in the middle. You are where you're going from both ends, mate.
This is Dennis Lilly, Jeff Thompson at their peak.
And you.
So, what jerseys have you got tonight in the background, Scotty?
So I've still got the Mapei. That's one of my old Mapei jerseys hanging on the back. But so the green one is Tor Hushoff. So green jersey from the Tour de France from whatever year that was. It's the only green jersey one I have actually. So Tor, the great Norwegian, the Viking king.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Anything you want to add before we wrap things up?
No. You said it was going to be a short one tonight, so we're running on an hour and a quarter. That's fine.
All the talk from last night's stage at the Vuelta about how cold it was, how hard it was at the end. That's off the day before when I saw the interview with Mitch Docker was talking. He finished, I don't know how many minutes behind. He said it was just a tough day, brutal day. So we're getting this scenario where the GC guys haven't had to really race hard, but the racing has been hard and the conditions and the cold, which means now we're going to hit some hills on tonight's stage. And
well, it's got a Cat 1. Got a Cat 100 towards the end, like 40k to go or something, but still it's a Cat 1. So anything can happen.
Two Cat 1s, and the last, this harder of the two is 40k from the end. Who knows? The weather.
Is that the right profile? That one?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Why can't I see it?
Cat 1.
Oh, it's a Cat 2, sorry. Cat 2 in the middle and a Cat 1 in the second. So,
mate.
It's not popping up on mine.
Yeah.
Maybe a bug got in your computer.
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
I can now. Yes, I don't know what you did, but yeah.
Right.
So the Cat 2 looks harder than the Cat 1 actually, but anyway, So that's a kind of interesting stage. Be good stage to watch. Yep.
Yeah, so 162 Ks, but it's just off the back of these last few days. It's been really cold and fatiguing, and 230 Ks yesterday. So who knows? I guess the contenders are trying to take the edge off Roglic before that penultimate stage. So I don't think it's going to happen, but this is what they need: is these tough, hard days, cold days, shitty days. Yeah.
Yep. Right. We've got a comment. Omar Farley out for the break for tonight's stage. His prediction. Got any predictions for the stage?
I've given up.
I'm going with Woodsy.
Woodsy? Actually, I'll back you in. Back guys that are informed. Back guys that are still hungry. Let's get on the Woods train.
All right.
Another comment. Wombat breath. Poor Scotty better than Bruce. So.
Yes, thank you. Woodsy, okay, if Woodsy is up for it, if he's in the mix, he'll get beaten in the sprint. Put it that way. Yeah, that'd be my prediction.
Last comment, Ian Thomas, bring back the silver frame, Scott. I haven't had the story on that one.
The silver frame? What was that one?
I think you had a frame in the background, did you?
Oh, that was the white one. So white one, it was pearl white. That was just it was a 20-year-old bike I had.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to bust it out. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up. It's an hour 15.
Done.
I'm cooked. All right, done. See you tomorrow night, 7:30. We'll have Mick Rogers, who's the UCI director for innovation. And he's going to be really driving esports. So we were talking about that last night. It's going to be a fascinating chat. Dodge really well. Scooter and Iffy, you've had a lot to do with Dodge over the years. So
sensational.
If you want to ask Dodge a question, shoot in tomorrow night. It's going to be a ripper. So we'll speak to you then.
On the way out.
Sorry. I stopped it twice. What do you want to say?
Well, I'm going to say, disappointing. I see Nippo, Delco, what do they call it? On One Provence. The UCI are calling on their bank guarantee because they haven't been paying their riders. That was quite a big team. That's the one that Brenton Jones rode for a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Is that Shinto who's the director of? Is that one?
Well, I have a couple of. So it's Nippo, Delco, One Provence. It was Marseille or something before, but it's quite a big team. And the UCI is now calling on their bank guarantee because they reckon the riders haven't been getting paid. So we don't like to hear those sort of stories. There you go. So whack that in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, nice way to end the show, John. Just bummer.
There you go. We'll look into it.
Yeah.
We'll look into it.
All right. Can I start the video now to end the show?
You can now. Yeah, mate. Yeah. No, that'll do.
All right. You're good. You know the rules. You've got to do finger.
This is the winning ride on the Tour de France.